That's, oh, there it is. I'm just about ready to do some things here.
Okay.
All right. So
Can you hear me?
we're live. Yeah, we are live. We are live. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
There we go. So we got our splash screen going there. And let's see. Oh, hello again, Abyss. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So, yeah, I think we're just about ready to start talking. You got the questions that I sent you, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yep, I got those.
Okay, good. Let's get rid of that screen there. We've seen enough of that. Okay. All right. Oh my goodness, there's the Jeff.
Hang on. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay. Good. I got the new AirPods in.
Oh.
Let's see how these work.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Do you have these? These are cool.
Did you get the Pro or the Standard?
I got the Pro. Quite a bit of money.
Yeah. They're expensive, but the noise canceling is very nice, and I don't really like the Standard AirPods. They don't fit my ear quite right. I always feel like they're just kind of dangling there, and since they don't have any wire to them, I feel like I could lose it very easily. A quick turn of my head and it might go flying somewhere. Never really liked the Standard ones, but yeah, the Pros are much better. They fit my ear much better. I hear that they're
nice. They kind of just get right into your ears.
Yeah, they're coming up with the new version of the Standard AirPods supposedly later this month. The next version is going to be out, and those are going to be more similar to the Pros, so maybe they'll fit my ears a little better. But yeah, we'll see. All right,
great.
Yeah, so Abyss
thank you for the questions, Dan.
Yeah, no worries. Let's see, what was I going to do? Oh yeah, here we go. Let's see.
Great. These are quite interesting questions, by the way, everyone.
You think so?
Thanks for joining us. Yeah. Are you going to put up the questions?
If I can find them here. I think I prepared that. Let's see. So, not Friendly Feud. Where'd it go? Let's see. Layman's philosophy. It should be in there. Questions for April 14th. Okay. Let me make sure I've got this set up right. Don't need to do that. Okay. And just about got it set. All right. Play from start. Okay. Where are we at here? Oh yeah, I got to present that. That's what I got to do. I got to present it. And present the application window. Share that. Okay. Make that number 1. Make that number 1. There we go.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, hear you fine. Thank you for joining us. Yes. Okay, so yeah, here's Layman's philosophy. This week's questions. What do you think existed before the universe was created? That's our first question. So, yep, thanks for joining us. This a data scientist.
Yep.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. Abyss, what do you think about that? I know what I think.
I rather like you guys take the first shot because I kind of like I'm huge interest in this question because I'm also keen towards cosmology, so I can probably sort of like elaborate on like what the scientific explanation is, but I'm really curious as to what you both think about this.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fascinating topic. It's a very fascinating subject for me too. And I love it as well. I'm not that well versed in it, but I do watch YouTube videos on it. Yes. I'm of two thoughts on this question. I'm not sure there was a before the universe was created, actually. Right. That's one of my thoughts. Yes. I think that it's possible that the universe has been going on forever, and that granted there are big bangs. There is a big bang, but perhaps there are other big bangs also. Yeah, that existed before our big bang, or the one that we're familiar with. Yes.
Okay,
So ours is just
Daryl.
kind of one of many.
Daryl, no one knows, and anyone who has it correct was purely lucky in their guess. Okay, good point. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, no one knows. Yeah.
But then my other thought is that, of course, the other way is that the Big Bang we're familiar with was the beginning of everything. Yeah, of course. But like Daryl said, we could never know, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing, using the word before is problematic because before implies time, and I'm not sure what time is. I'm not sure if time, is part of the universe that was created. Was time created at the same time that that matter came into existence, or when the universe was created? So what does it mean to say before? I mean, they talk about the time space continuum. So if it's all part of one thing, what does before even mean? Is kind of a confusing concept for me.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly right. And who knows if there was a before?
Right.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
It could be infinite, right?
Exactly.
And you're right. Yeah, we don't know.
Right.
If there were, and of course, it does imply time. So that would mean that before time, right? What is time then? Yes. But then the other thought experiment that I love is what if the Big Bang was actually the beginning of everything? I mean, that's amazing to think about too, right? That started everything, and time and everything began from that moment. Yeah, and just everything expanded outwardly, and that's just very amazing to think about too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what caused it, right? I've
Exactly.
heard some people think that perhaps God, as it were, right, started the Big Bang, right, and what have you. Again, we don't know, but it's very interesting to consider, to think about, right? I think physicists have measured down to the Big Bang. Is that right, Abyss? You're familiar with that?
So
We've
they
been able
actually
to
have a measure
measure
of like 380,000 years after the Big Bang. So the cosmic microwave background, essentially, it's like I don't know. So if you guys had like the old CRT TVs, right? If you turn them on and if you're kind of like panning through the channels, then you get this this noise, right? That has like a hissing sound.
Right.
That's actually a reverberation from the earliest light that was emitted when the universe was actually been like expanding. So the observation is kind of limited towards to, like I said, 380,000 years. I should be sure about that. Was it like 1,000 or 8 million years? But it should be like 380,000 years after the Big Bang. So there's nothing that can tell us about what the Big Bang is. So largely what you guys just mentioned is just speculation. And you're right. I mean, at this point, like, it's speculation is all that we have. But as far as we know, space time itself never existed before the Big Bang. So what happened was that right after the Big Bang, the universe expanded to an enormous degree through a process called inflation. So during that time, space-time actually expanded like much faster at a speed much faster than the speed of light. So that's the understanding. But what started, like what existed before the universe, there are several theories that have been thrown out there. One is like you just mentioned, Jeff, which is like the universe, like the Big Bang was kind of like the origin of time and space and time itself. That's one of the
Mhm.
things. That's one of the, the major consensus, in fact, like that's been given out there. The other is maybe like this universe is birthed from like a black hole from another universe. So there's
Mm.
also that notion, because because we don't know like what exactly happens at the center of the black hole, and there is no way of finding that out as well, because the information is lost from the universe in a black hole. The other is an
Mhm.
interesting theory which is floated by Roger Penrose. He's a British physicist, and his theory is that the universe actually started at a maximum entropy. So the entropy is like the level of chaos. You can consider that. So if you look at the cosmic microwave background, it has some kind of uniformity or all around it. So what he was suggesting was that maybe the universe started off as, from another dead universe. So the universe kind of like spontaneously um, you know came to being because of like this quantum fluctuation, that, or like the vacuum fluctuation that we have in the universe. But these are like, theories, and so there's no way of knowing what happens. The best thing that we can do is like collide particles, so like at CERN particle collider, for example, try to emulate, or at least
Mhm.
understand what happens like uh, when um, when the universe was like pretty young. But yes, I mean, even the science had no clear consensus, and from the looks of it, there probably is like no way of finding that out.
Mhm.
Fascinating. Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah,
fascinating stuff. Is it okay if I bring in just one thing here? Um, I've been researching, or I've been watching YouTube from this researcher and physicist. I think he has a degree in neuroscience, if I'm not mistaken. Donald Hoffman, and he thinks
Oh yeah,
that. And do you know Donald Hoffman? Yeah, he thinks that
I know.
consciousness is actually fundamental. Yeah, and so he doesn't believe in space time, which I thought was fascinating. It's a
Yeah,
completely different way of looking at this whole question, right?
right.
He's saying that consciousness is fundamental, and that basically, right, space and time doesn't exist, and that we create everything, basically. Yeah. How do you guys feel about that?
Dan.
well, I mean, it's interesting, but again, I think that's one of those unknowable things, and regardless of what the truth is, it doesn't really change anything about the way I operate, or the way I, it doesn't have anything to do with my decision making process. So I actually don't delve into that thought very deeply. I mean, okay, if that's the way it is, it's still, my perception is hasn't changed really based on that information. Like I said, it's unknowable. Maybe if I think it's unknowable. Maybe if it was knowable, I would have a different opinion about that. But yeah, I just don't.
Right.
It's not worth thinking about for me.
It's fun to though.
So
It's fun to think about
Dan,
it, though, isn't it? Yeah.
it is. It is. Actually, like it's one of the plausible ideas in physics. It's called the Anthropic Principle. So the whole notion is that the universe may not exist in its state today because like there's a sentient observer to it. Like put it bluntly, that's what the Anthropic Principle is. So I think what uh Don Hoffman is trying to do is trying to link consciousness on a much deeper level um, to say the quantum mechanics, because that's essentially what he claimed that he kind of postulated. But there are valid criticisms to be had, because we are just like one instance of the universe becoming sentient. What if we encounter an alien life? Would that be considered something else? Or what if like that we have no like considerable input into how the universe perceives itself? Like that's also another question to ask. And there are also other criticisms from physics point of view that say that any kind of stochastic system um, can be modeled, or at least like his, I guess his idea, or in his theory, he started off as some kind of um, cognitive model, and from that he claimed that he actually derived the Schrodinger's equation, which is the quantum mechanics equation required to simulate quantum like subatomic particles and whatnot. So I've heard some physicists actually say that such kind of stochastic systems can be modeled from anything else. But yeah, it's a very it's I mean, it's a very contentious theory or idea to put it out there.
Mhm. Yeah, it is.
Welcome,
Daryl, how you doing, Daryl?
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think about that?
Well, I think the idea of trying to link consciousness to the nature of the universe, I think, is misleading. I think consciousness only seems profound to us because we're the ones experiencing it. Um, so I don't think that consciousness has any relationship to space or time or existence. I mean, it needs space and time to function, as it needs a brain to function. But yeah, I mean, I think it's it's I think the science behind it is more boring than people would hope for.
Yeah, and of course we would never know, right? Anyway, it's so hard to be able to understand fully or to know fully. Yeah. Anyway,
No, but
right? So,
we can know some things though. I mean,
hmm,
there are things that I mean, we can never know anything with 100% certainty. Like all I can know with 100% certainty is that I think, therefore I am. But I mean, there are things we can know with a confidence of like 99.999 repeating percent. You know what I'm saying?
hmm.
And so I think it's
Sure,
important not
yeah.
to get too lost in an idea.
Yeah. Interesting. Dan,
Yeah.
any
Well,
comments?
well, I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah, like I said, I haven't thought about this deeply enough because I don't believe it's knowable, and so therefore it's not going to adjust my thinking on anything really relevant to my life choices and so on. It's an interesting thought experiment, but again, we're always limited because we can't step outside the system, right? As long as you're part of that system, you can't be totally objective. Your observations are always going to be influenced by the fact that you are within the system that you're trying to observe, that you're trying to understand. And so I mean, that's a limitation that just is absolutely cannot be overcome. You can't step outside the system. As being part of the universe, you can't be outside of it. And so you can't be a totally objective observer of the universe and so on. So, yeah, it's an interesting thought experiment, but it doesn't, for me, it doesn't seem to have any real application to any of my life choices or even the way I think about things. Yeah. So.
Interesting. Yeah.
Amazing.
Shall we, to save time a little bit,
Yep.
go
Yeah,
on to
okay.
number 2?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is math something that humans created or something we discovered? Is looking at reality mathematically an accurate representation of how things work? Okay. Anyone want to take lead on this question?
Yeah,
these are like really really, really thought-provoking ideas and really hot topics to be honest. And yeah,
They are, aren't
just
they?
saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just to take a stab here. I think that it was discovered partially, right? Yeah, and I think it's out there. I mean, in the ether, as it were, right? And other physicists or what have you, and other mathematicians kind of have found it and have kind of latched on to very similar ways to solve problems. So I think it's already out there, but I think humans kind of grabbed it, kind of in a sense, and kind of made it their own. So something was out there, and they kind of grabbed it and tried to find out and tried to use it for their own benefit. So that, in that respect, I think it was partially, or at least a little bit, kind of created by humans, right? But things I think were already out there. That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I agree with that. That I think mathematics, the mathematical concepts. I mean, those constructs, those relationships, exist, outside of the human experience. Those relationships are what humans have done. Have found their own ways to label them, to manipulate them within, using our language, our symbols, and so on, and be able to make those relationships make sense to us, and be able to use those to our benefit, in all kinds of different ways, right? But yeah, what was created, I think, is the tools for manipulating, for understanding, for labeling and manipulating those ideas, and coherent methodology for humans. But the actual relationships, mathematical concepts are beyond us, or outside us, exist on their own. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at least, like, in my opinion, I mean, you both have like a valid point, and I'm just gonna like at least point something out, which is like being mentioned out there, and this actually goes hand in hand with like the some theories that suggest that this universe might be simulated. And the reason why it's so is because we have universal constants. Like, for example, pi is a universal constant. The speed of light is constant. Gravitational coefficient is also constant. So these are immutable, regardless of like which universe that, regardless wherever you are in the universe. So does that merit the assertion that mathematics is kind of universal? That's also that's still being debated. And one particular reason is I don't know if you guys know about Kurt Gödel. He was a German mathematician, and he came up with this idea called the Incompleteness Theorem, which states that no mathematical axiom can be completely, or at least like any mathematical axiom has inherent inconsistency to it, so it cannot really define itself. That's what he proved using logic. So, in a way, if you really think about it, even though mathematics is the best tool that we have to understand everything, because, you know, slapping an equation to certain natural phenomena would give you a more realistic understanding. But it's also important to note that the mathematics itself has inherent incompleteness. So, uh, this remains to be like an open-ended question, like whether it's created or not. Like, for example, even like think of like the very simplest thing that you can find, like the Pythagorean theorem, right? The reason why Pythagorean theorem works is because if you have like a right angle triangle on a flat surface, like on a plane, but if you have it like on a curved surface, Pythagorean theorem actually fails, right? So what I'm trying to say is that there are some things that we take as constant because we live in a universe where certain numbers are constant. But also, it's important to note that, like I said, one, mathematical equations, all mathematical axioms have inherent inconsistency. That's one thing. And also, the constants that we have are basically empirical representations. They may not be like the actual numbers that we hope to get, because like I said, these are just empirical values. Like if you want to calculate pi, for example, you have to do like some kind of mathematical trick, or do like a lot of computation to calculate pi. But does that mean like pi is like, I mean, you found all the digits of pi? That's a completely different question. So to sum up, yeah, this is like a very contested idea. Most of it would point like the mathematics is kind of universal. On the flip side, math itself has gaping holes, and also some of the mathematical representations and constants that we have may not be accurate.
So from that, would you say that kind of humans fill in the gaps then? Is that kind of what you're getting at? I mean, that humans kind of create the missing parts, or kind of fill in the gaps?
Well,
'Cause
so humans
mathematics is
actually,
universal.
as humans, what we did was like use that empirical relation, right? That's one thing that we did. And also, we also managed to get, or at least like to um at least like to explain that mathematics itself has inherent flaws in it. So
Mhm.
it's like a double-edged um approach, like, because we're saying that the math that we're using is accurate enough for us to model something, right? But at the same time, mathematics in its ultimate form may not be as perfect as we might imagine. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know what our role as human beings is when it comes to mathematics, except that we're using it. Like, if I should say that we're just basically users of math, then uh, I guess like I'm kind of pitting myself in a corner there. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really hard to say. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. Like, Daryl, what do you think?
Um, well, I think I mean, like if you're talking about like most of the math you learn in it, like elementary, junior high, like high school. I mean, I think a lot of that math is modeled after the natural world. It's built on observation. I mean, right down to like tribes that are trying to divide their food into equal parts for everyone. Um, so I think math must have gotten its start based on these observations of the world, and I see math as being like the science of quantities, right? And and math, even the more advanced math that like formulas that calculate like orbits, around other masses, like in space, like in our solar system, like the formulas they use to calculate like that a certain space probe will be, by Jupiter at this hour, minute, second, day. Um, I mean, it works, so it must be a reflection of this world, because we're trying to use it to make predictions of this world. I think where it really becomes like an invented thing is 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 um is when you try to predict things that that are not falsifiable, that you haven't been able to test, like are there like higher dimensions, are there are you know are do we is do we live in a multiverse, like when you start trying to use math to do those kind of things, then I think some of it would have to be invented, because it's not modeled after anything that's tangible. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
I gotcha.
Mm.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Mhm.
But the flip side of that is the mathematics itself was the basis for some of the late discoveries of science. What I mean is that, like, for example, I don't know if you heard about Peter Higgs. He gave this theory that there exists like a particle, a boson particle, and that kind of gives everything mass. And he did that in 1962. And in 2012, I think, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN was able to find that particle. So what I'm trying to say is that even though the mathematics, when it comes to inferring, multiverse ideas, or even like what happened before the Big Bang, or those kind of out of bound kind of questions, but the math that was used to predict those things has been effectively useful to predict those particles, like subatomic particles, before they were even discovered. So do you get what I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
again,
Yeah.
it seems to me that's an argument for the fact that, I mean, again, the mathematics, the concepts, exist independent of humans, right? It's humans using, what we have developed, numbers, as a representation, as a tool in order to understand and manipulate these concepts, So we didn't create the concepts, we didn't create the relationships. And mathematics, like I said, is a tool. So if we're saying that, did humans invent mathematics as, the tools to understand these underlying concepts, these things that exist, independent of us, then yeah, we obviously, we developed them, we invented them, but we didn't invent the relationships. We didn't invent pi. Pi is basically, I mean, it's a ratio, right? And that ratio exists whether we're there to see it or not, or whether we understand it or not, But yeah, we came up with a tool, and I would argue, yeah, as you have said, it's an incomplete, it's an imperfect tool. Our mathematics at the in the form that it is now is imperfect and incomplete, and so yeah, that we kind of invented, but the ratios, the concepts, the constructs, we did not invent. So again, we need to be careful, I guess, in our definition of the question, mathematics. What do we mean exactly by mathematics? Is it the background, the underlying constructs and concepts and relationships, or is it the numbers that we have used to label these concepts and manipulate these concepts and so on, right? So yeah, what is the question really?
Yeah, I think
The reason why.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Daryl.
I think one reason why math does work, in trying to understand the universe, is because there's quantities of stuff in the universe that exists, and the universe follows rules, and math aligns quite well with anything that follows rules. But to play devil's advocate, I could imagine a scenario where someone creates or discovers or invents a type of math that leads them to the wrong conclusions.
Right. We have to wonder about that too, don't we? Yes. Indeed. Yeah. I think that when you said has rules, it leads us to very well into the second part of this question, is looking at reality mathematically, an accurate representation of how things work then. What do you guys think?
I would say it's a best empirical representation.
I would say yes.
Newton's law of like gravitation, for example, or Newton's second law. It says like force is equal to mass times acceleration. That seems to work fine in our domain, like because we're not, pacing at its near the speed of light. And but as your speed increases and it grows asymptotically closer to the speed of light, you get a whole new type of physics, right? But for slower speed, Newtonian Newtonian mechanics actually applies. In fact, I think it was kind of like I might have heard like it was very reliable that they used Newtonian mechanics to pilot the Apollo mission, or at least like the Apollo 11 mission to the moon. So in a way, we know it works, right? But like I said, it has huge limitations. So the accuracy kind of depends on the scope that you're looking at. So my best understanding is that the mathematics that we're using is an empirical representation. It can be always corrected depending on new observations. And I don't know if you guys heard about like there was a new discovery, and what was it like last week, I think it was
the muon.
at the yeah, exactly, the Fermi lab, the muon G-2. So they're saying that that the whole discovery can change the physics as we know it, like the subatomic or like the quantum physics as we know it. So, I mean, that remains to be seen because they don't have precise results yet, but it's close enough to be more precise, or at least like to completely um, um, change our understanding of the quantum world. So, what I'm saying is that as discoveries are as discoveries are made every day, the empirical relations will also be refined. So, in a way, the mathematical representation of our universe or everything around us will also be refined accordingly.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. Should we go to the third one?
Okay. Yeah. Let's move on. Yeah. Good stuff.
By the way, sorry.
No.
Good
Quick
stuff.
point. I was on Clubhouse. I noticed, and I've heard mathematicians, like PhD mathematicians, argue about this for 3 hours. So if they don't agree, I don't think none of us will. So,
Right. Yeah. No.
but we best move on.
No. As I often
Right.
intend to say anyway, that this is not us trying to find dictating the answers to anything, but just these are interesting things to think about and talk about, and share our ideas, and hopefully at least from my perspective to get some new ideas, to be a little better informed after these than I was before. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, is it possible for a human to fathom the true depths of reality and existence? Okay.
I'm going to say no, I don't think so, because there's a lot out there perhaps that we don't see or can't comprehend. And I just would like to take it back to Donald Hoffman for a moment. He says that there's a lot of things that we can't see, that we are like, for example, icons on a computer desktop. Yeah, that the reality, if we were to see it as it really was, or as it really is, we wouldn't be able to handle it. He says that we're like icons on a computer desktop, which are just icons that can move around and communicate with one another. But underlying that, there's wires, there's capacitors, there's electronics, right? That's the real reality that we don't know and can't see. Now that's just his take, but I think it's interesting to look at it that way. I do think that there are things that we can't see or can't comprehend, actually. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's to me it's quite clear that we know that our eyes can only observe a small portion of the the light spectrum, and our ears can only are only aware of a limited wavelengths and so on, but and those are things that we know about, and there are things that we don't have the instruments, or we don't have the physical hardware in order to become aware of some things, and so that totally beyond us. We don't, maybe some of these things that we can't explain, or simply because we are unable to observe something. Because I mean, as a product of evolution, perhaps being able to be aware of these things was not important enough to our survival as a species, our success as a species, that they were not, our evolution did not develop those, those tools and so on. Whereas, the certain spectrum of light, the certain sound wavelengths and so on, were important. So yeah. Obviously, I believe that there are so many things that we are simply, unable, and will never be able, because of the physical
limitations.
The physical limitations. The fact that we are physical beings, and there are certain things that there are just limitations on them. It's like, I believe in infinity. Strange statement maybe, but I believe in infinity, but I really have no concept of what that is. I mean, I can't extrapolate, the idea of you go to a wall and then, beyond that wall, is more. And I mean, no matter how far you go, so I can kind of think about it, but I can't really, the infinity of space, the infinity of time, these concepts are simply beyond my ability to wrap my mind around them in any real way. And I just think that those are two easy examples for us to see, but I just think there's so much more that we'll never be able to comprehend, never be able to really observe in any reasonable way. So yeah.
So
I think you hit on a good point. Sorry, but just quickly, that Dan said for the revolution, that probably we don't need to know so much of those things that we can't comprehend. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna also say no. And I have like three. I thought of like three perspectives as to why we may not know how this universe functions, and be able to comprehend in its full glory, or like its depth of reality. And the first one is like we're limited with our senses, so um, we can only see a very small sliver of um, light, or the electromagnetic spectrum, which we call light. But there is like ultraviolet radiation. There's microwaves, um, um, which are like some of the most common types of lights, or like radiations in the universe. But we're only confined with the visible light. And there are even other animals that can actually see better than us, and that by itself would kind of rob us of like understanding the universe, or at least like perceiving the universe in its full glory. um, but also we might be limited with our thinking, because our brain can only do as much. Like your typical like, to give you an example, your typical optical illusions are simple examples. Like, our brain tries to cut a shortcut, or at least like try to interpret a very complex thing in a simpler manner, so that it can take action. And that by itself would kind of delay or hinder the ability to kind of fathom and understand the universe as it is. The last one is like we'll probably we definitely won't know what the vicarious um, experience is going to be. And uh, I was actually reminded of the Thomas Nagel's "How is it like to be a bad essay?" So the idea is that we'll never know like how it is like to be a bat, because we don't have the same matching senses, we don't have the same cognitive abilities. There are so many gaps between bats and humans, and yet we won't be able to fully understand or see the world in their eyes. So saying that, like, we'll never truly understand how the universe is in a form like a vicarious existence. So for these three reasons, like I said, limitations of senses, cognitive limitation, that's another also one thing, and the inability to have vicarious experience will probably be, one of the, at least like some of the causes as to why we'll be limited with our senses, and we won't be able to fully understand the universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, do we have the capacity, even if we were given the answers, to understand the true depth and nature of the universe? I don't know if we would be intelligent enough just for the limitations that we've had inherited from evolution. And understanding the true nature of the universe might require a type of thinking that we haven't even evolved to develop as of yet, because evolution has given us exactly what we need, and no more, no more than that. Um, so, but I don't know if it can be understood. Maybe it can be with enough science, but one thing I think that will always be limited for every individual is our awareness. So I mean when it comes to human awareness, like we'll never be fully aware of everything that pertains to reality, and you don't even have to look at like the whole universe to ask that question. You can look at, like, does anybody truly understand society, for example? Because, or does anyone truly understand, like an iPhone? Like, do you have an awareness of the programming that went into the iPhone? Do you have an awareness of the electronics that went into making the iPhone? Do you have an awareness of the manufacturing process that went into the iPhone? Or do you just have an awareness of how to use the iPhone? Um, so our awareness will always be limited. That would be my take on that.
Okay, a good point.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean,
right.
this seems to be one area that we all kind of agree that is it possible for human to fathom the true depths of reality and exist? I mean, we all kind of are saying no, right? It's not possible. That's just beyond us. Yeah, for various reasons. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, well,
Well,
maybe that's a good place to wrap up there. Where we all agree on something.
at least not in our
great.
current form. So
Yes.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw the notification. I have sort of like a science panel with uh,
Ooh.
individuals that are actually really well versed in their fields. So there's like a neuroscientist, a cosmologist, an entomologist, and who's it like yeah. So I guess like we're gonna come together and kind of like discuss on so many things, at least like in the human interaction with nature on Saturday. So if you guys have
On
time,
Haps?
I have the yeah, it's on Haps, so we'll be on 9:30 on Central Time Zone, like like a Central U.S. time zone. But yeah, if you guys can also be present, that would be great. One of them is here actually. Hi,
Yeah.
Ian.
Oh, Ian,
Great.
welcome. Yeah.
Ian, yeah, sounds great. Yeah, okay. 9:30 Central Time, you said?
9:30
Yep.
in the evening. Evening.
Oh, it's in the morning.
Morning. Okay, 9:30 in the morning.
Morning. Okay.
All right. Okay. Cool. Great.
Excellent. That'd be nighttime here, I guess. And yeah, it's great. And I'm also tomorrow at 1:30 Japan time, so that would be 12:30 a.m. Eastern time on the East Coast, and 9:30 p.m. I guess in California. I'm talking about being an expat and living and traveling to Asia. So please join me for that.
Cool.
Tomorrow, Thursday.
Tomorrow, yep.
Yeah, excellent.
Yes, okay. Yes, and Edward, thank you.
Great.
It's really nice to hear, see and hear each of you in this evening. Very informative content. Thank you. Thank you. Love what you caught. We'll catch
Indeed.
the replay. Oh, yes. Yes, Ian, please do catch the replay. And we do this kind of thing. Again, like I said, I am, purely a layman, but I like to have these discussions, again, to inform myself and get other people's input. So we do this at this time every week is the plan, right? So Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock our time. So that's what do we say, 10 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday evening. Yeah, and you can adjust the time there depending on your location. Yeah, we do this, and very, very fortunately, I'm very happy that our audience has grown a little bit, but the best part is our participants, our on-screen participants has also grown, which makes it a much better broadcast for me and for all our listeners, I'm sure. So thank you, Daryl, thank you, Abyss.
Thank you, Daryl. Join us next time, Daryl and Abyss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. And Ian,
Thanks
if you'd
for
like
having me
to
as
keep
well.
that in mind, we'd be happy to bring you online too. Okay, so great. Thanks everyone, and see you again next week. Okay, goodbye.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.